Greatly appreciate all of you. If you were here for the afternoon or the late morning live, or actually mid morning live, a lot of this was put into perspective. It was showing us signs earlier in the day that was not very favorable to us. And the main part of this that really got us thinking this morning, especially in the very micro perspective, is the fact that and I extended this over just so you could see kind of how you could run that, but just looking at it as a whole, we came up here and retested this. So we had a breakdown, break back up, and got perfectly rejected at this threshold. If this continues to play through, the most logical opportunity here would be that this would come down into that $1.85 zone. And that could be exactly what's building right now. Now, I will say this. I'm at least optimistic for one reason. That 2 hourly is so oversold and dragging on that it very well could, it might just be speaking to a retest. The 4 hourly still pushing its way down. But this was a very severe rejection right now. And it's not the end of the world, especially if you're looking for bullish or bearish. It's not the end of the world. And the best way that I can describe this would be to just look at this chart right here. Nope, wrong chart. I think I'd rather, in this perspective. And this is what we talked about this morning, 212. Unfortunately, if it comes through there, it's going to come down here and retest 206. So, like, it would be a quick drop down, and at least that happened so we can see where we stand. So now, unlike this morning where we were trying to hang on for dear life at $2.12, we eventually did break down here, and it ended up pushing right down to just about $2.06 and a quick spike down. A little bit of excitement from some, which is understandable when it made the push back from 206 back to 209. But really, now what you've done is instead of back testing it on the support structure, now you're coming back up. And if we hit 211.64 and get rejected, well, you know, it might be a very interesting dilemma to be in right here. However, on this breakout, if it came back to back test that V-shaped recovery, we've talked about the fact that this could create a opportunistic inverse head and shoulders in the short term, and also maybe finishing off a little bit of a right shoulder if you look at it in a really weird perspective. So that's also a possibility. I'm going to open this window just for a minute. But there is a little bit of an opportunity here if it decided to reverse at the support structure. Now, if it falls through here, yes, it will create a bit of an optic here, and it might make it a little bit more difficult to transpire the events we need in the immediate short term to push us out. If we break this, it could be leading into a sell-off before we get into the rate cuts. The meeting starts December 9th, followed up by the December 10th rate cut, which I assume will happen. It does seem like we're setting up something much larger in the grand scheme of things, and it might not be what people want to hear, but it does seem like at some point, I don't know if it's going to be early 26, mid 26, or late 26, we're going to experience a lot like we did in 2020, but for a completely different reason. So we're going to have to brace for this. And the evidence is everywhere. Even with what they're doing with Atlas, they're putting it out there like something bigger is transpiring. And they got two choices here. In human history, the central banks have chosen wars across the world when the debt crisis gets to a certain level to where it's not manageable. Then they can change where the goalposts are and the finish line when there's an imminent war. We're in wartime. There's special laws, yada, yada, yada. Right now, though, you've only got two choices. One, we go into a world war. Two, we have a mass event that pulls all governments into the, oh my God, they're saving us. And it makes them look great as they come together, unite against a not foreign force, but a out of this world force, let's call it. So which agenda are we going towards? Are we going to have a world war? Or are we going to have a war where it appears that all governments come together and we're fighting some outside force? With Atlas 3i, or 3i Atlas, it seems like maybe we're taking the latter approach, and maybe they're going to go into the Project Bluebeam playbook. So if that's the case, we got to get prepared. And we got to make some money. And quick. and have an understanding of what could possibly happen and not put ourselves into situations that can trap capital. So we don't want to be trapping capital. So right now, after we get into the intro, we're going to talk about the significance of this breakdown today and how, at least on first glance, we failed the breakout retest that we so desired to get us back on track. Good evening. 6:02 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Thursday, December 4th, 2025. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. Make sure to hit that like button, as only 49% of the viewing audience has hit that like button so far. YouTube might look at that as not so great. I think it's pretty cool, but still, 49% is not even an F. Now we're into the G or H categories. But I did expand this out right here just so you could see kind of how it plays the inside out wedge. So now you start to play within this. And we always talk about how these downtrending resistance, uptrending support, after you have an attempted breakout and then you get a breakdown and then you retest it, it creates the inside out wedge. That's basically your last ditch effort to not break down. Well, we've come outside of this and now we're using this as resistance. If 212, I mean, you can see how this is starting to set up here. I don't have to speak in rocket science terms. This ain't good if it continues this. Almost looks like it could be a bump and run there. Like, boom, back down, ran, and then down out. I don't know. But we'll see how this transpires. But being below that section, as we talked about in this morning's live, very detrimental. And it could lead to a sudden 13% drop very quickly. Now, it could culminate with a better than 30% drop, but are we there yet? So, the sudden drop, though, that everybody's seen, I mean, it came down, came out, and then we came to the double top. And getting this rejection here was not a good sign. And that ended up falling out 5.8% so far. Getting a rejection here would be devastating. If we get rejected at 212, it's going to draw into a lot of problems, because then we're going to have one ditch support left that if we lose it, it's going to be an issue. Because then we're going to come back into the mid 180s and there's not much we can do about it. If we lose this 206 setup and then start to invalidate an inverse head, we got a problem. But it could be a very quick problem. And I think that this chart's fine, like coming down here into that $1.89 area. But I think literally looking at it like this, I think this is the best optic here. We drew it in earlier. I think this is the best optic because you could come down to that liquidity tug and see if we've got anything left in the tank. And that would be a last ditch support. And if we have something left in the tank, we'll be okay. You'll buy the support structure, you'll play it up to resistance, all's well that ends well. However, if all of a sudden it becomes too much and all of a sudden everybody's like, the hell with this, I'm not doing this no more. You're talking about $1.27 on a breakdown from here. So $1.85 becomes, okay, everybody, let's have cooler heads prevail here. But before we get into this any deeper, because I love this topic of the conversation, but I have a lot in my heart. And it goes to the special ones in this audience. It goes to the ones who have ever put in an extra moment of time to help out this community. It puts into the ones who are in Tom's Army, the ones who have with their time and generosity and trying to teach others in this great community to try to push that narrative on somebody else. You know, maybe you were somebody who was in this community very early on and you decided to stick around, and in the beginning you didn't know anything. You absorbed the information and now you are a talking point in the comments or in the Telegram or just universally not even part of the community. But you take that knowledge and you spread it to somebody else that we've never met in your personal life, or you've created your own venture to where you can help people. I want to thank everybody who has that forward thinking to where they're like, okay, I want to do good for the greater good. There's two mindsets we can have. We want to do good because we independently want to have everything we've ever wanted and we want to be greedy. Or we can want to do good so that we can help everybody else that we can, not necessarily every unfortunate person on the planet, but stay in our own lane and be able to help who we are able to, able to touch, so to say. So like, it could be as simple as you got a delivery of something and maybe the weather was bad one day, or maybe you had some generosity in your heart, and instead of giving them a $5 tip, they come up to your door and you hand them a $20 bill. It doesn't seem like a lot. I mean, it does actually in these times, but you do something like that, and that good spirit pushes on, and then all of a sudden they're like, you know what? My hard work is paying off. That was a sign from the man upstairs, and that might be the sign they were looking for. And all you were doing was trying to, so one kind act. So I appreciate everybody in the audience who's taking the mindset that I try to push forward and tries to help everybody, further. I wanted to share this stat. I wasn't ready to do it just in the beginning, but I wanted to share some of the stuff with the inflows and outflows. So we'll read that in a sec, but I just wanted to thank everybody. I know 10 people left, but so be it. It's still worth mentioning. Crypto Cooter, welcome in along with Rich. The Cannabis Podcast, thank you guys for being in town for 6+ months with the XRP Predictor. John Allen, welcome in, my good friend. Crypto Cooter, thanks for being a very trusted mod as well, on top of being in town for 6+ months with the XRP Predictor, and here and in the Telegram. World War III, and if that fails, Project Blue. I know, and that's the scary part. That's exactly what I keep thinking. Exactly what I keep thinking. Mr. Carter, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 3 long years with the XRP Diamond badge. Hashtag M2C Mother Second Choice. Beautiful soul there. Beautiful soul there. Says, hey, Tom, thanks for all the updates. Just popped in. Well, I'm glad you did. I would love to have a drink with you. Not an alcoholic beverage. Even if we just had like I don't know, hot cocoa or something. I would love to sit by this guy and have a conversation. If I was to tell you that my UK version or my Australian version of me out in the outback is around somewhere, that would be that guy. He embodies everything I would be if I was out on that side of the world. I think we're bros. Well, I don't want to say bros from more hoes, because we weren't bred from hoes as well. Oh, maybe we were. But that's another story for another time. But no, it's just, I feel like this is somebody that I would have been great friends with in another life if we were closer together. So appreciate you being in here, Mr. Carter. MQT, welcome in, and thanks for being a very trusted mod in here in the Telegram, and also doing the leveraging side, and not just leveraging, but teaching everybody from a short-term, long-term, and why there's so much more in between than we could ever describe. That's another beautiful soul right there. Full-time worker, gives this time more than anybody could ever imagine. Him and Nick are just unbelievable. Bearded Viking, welcome in. I give you my blessings. I hope everything's going good with your young one. And it's a good day over there. So glad to see you in here, Bearded Viking. Dan Marginal and all the world stage, thanks for being in town on 3+ months with the XRP Meteor. Mark Caston, CJ2 Pilot, and thanks for being in Tom, or Louisville as well in Tom's Army. But Louisville, thanks for over 3 years with the Diamond Hands badge, getting his KRAKEN account ready now. I endorse it. They have fire blocks. So if we're going to tier 1 exchanges, because I'm done with all the no KYC and all the bullshit, they're unregulated for a reason, and we have no safeguards. So I'm just going to keep the safeguards of the tier 1 exchanges. At least KRAKEN has fire blocks. If you do the KRAKEN Pro, very reasonable on fees. I've shared it many, many times. I can't even complain about it. The only thing I can complain about is sometimes when you try to buy something, depending on the volatility, if there's no volume, you might be buying it for 13% more, so you got to stay away. You just say, that's an asset I'm not trading at this given time. Other than that, I'm blessed that they have that, because out of all the tier 1 exchanges, it's the only one that stays in my ballpark. CJ2 Pilot, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 2 years with the XRP 589 Moon badge, and Mark Casson for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. JDS, welcome in. You are welcome, my friend. Says, thank you for being you, man. I appreciate that. That's all I can be is me. I don't try to hide it. 1970 Legend, welcome in. Thanks for being a very trusted mod in here during the lives. Tom's Army for over 1 year. And our fellow Buckeye resident, defending national champions, just knocked off Michigan and looks to go and win the Big Ten championship for the first time in a couple of years. But like I said, defending national champions. So cream of the crop here, not just in the Big Ten, but in college football in general. So I appreciate seeing you in here. I love seeing it in here, or seeing you in here. Mrs. Stott, welcome in, and thanks for being in town for 3+ months with the XRP Meteor, along with Maple Man. Love it. Mrs. Stott says, is working on an airplane, so may not attend. Oh, Mr. Stott is working on an airplane and may not attend. Well, that's good to know. We hope everything goes well for Mr. Stott. I appreciate both of you being such a vital component to this, to what we do here in this community. Miss Jan, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 4 years with the XRP Phoenix Band. Jan has been here since the beginning. I believe since that first run in the very beginning. Unbelievable support. So much love. Thank you for being a very trusted mod in here as well. It's very critical to have good tempered and good moral and people with integrity to help us push this community. Syrian, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with Mick Shoot, and also being a very trusted mod in here and in the Telegram. Love it. Thank you all so much. If I missed some of your comments, I completely apologize. It keeps resetting it. But I did my best. Alpha, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for your first month with the emoji badge and me being abducted by aliens. Says, hi, Tom. I'm always on in the background. Always smashing the like button. I love your work. Thank you so much for that. You're one of the 78% of the viewers who have hit that like button right now. Oh, I keep stats. Uphold has IOTA now. I know, but I wouldn't touch them with the 100,000 foot pole. They don't use fire blocks, and they have stolen some of my crypto as well, Julie's in 2023. But if you want to call me her asset manager, I was. So I did a piss poor job on that exchange. Let's just say that. I noticed that KRAKEN no longer has the XRP USD spot. Let's take a look at that. I don't need them to have the XRP USD as long as they have XRP on there at all. Because like XDC, you have to trade it in USD. So like, not everything's in USDT. To me, I don't care which one it's in. XRP is tradable on KRAKEN in USD. No, it's on USDT, USDC, USD, Europe, GBP. You can trade it in CAD. You can trade it against Ethereum, the AUD, the RLUSD. You can trade. Oh, you can do RXP or XRP buying it with RLUSD now. I remember seeing that too. Let's see, RLUSD. I remember seeing you can put your money in that stable coin. Oh, my phone got wet when I was doing the. Oh no, it's not because it's spicy. My phone's not excited. It got wet when for all you sick bastards out there. It got wet because I was doing the dishes. I know, not much of a manly job, but I like to do the dishes. Julie made the salmon and stuff tonight, and I said, I got to do the dishes. I don't want her to have to do it all. I mean, I plated the food, but I wanted to clean it up before I started the live. What can I say? I guess I'm not a very manly man. I even did the laundry today. Look at me. I'm cooking. Let's see. Or what I say, I'm the manliest of men. Yeah, because I'm in touch with what needs to get done. Yeah, that's what we'll stick with. We'll stick with that. My pairing don't include XRP USDT unless it's XRP USDT. No. Listen, the 10x, everybody, you're not trading at 10x. And this is a great point that you just brought up. That 10x is if you trade margin. You can do it up to 10x. When you trade it, just because I had that same problem with KRAKEN when I first started, John, and I'm so glad you mentioned it, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. That 10x, that's still a spot trade unless you try to do margin, and you can do it up to 10x. They'll margin out up to 10x. So that is still a 1x trade. That's a spot trade if you open it in a spot positioning. You don't have to worry about it saying 10x and all that. Great comment. I'm glad somebody said that. I completely forgot it does that on KRAKEN. Excellent. That was excellent. I'd like to consider it more perpetual short-term trade versus leverage trading. Upload has IOTA. Jacoby, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. John Bugathorpe. What do you mean how? Like, are you talking about how do you trade the margin? You have to open up a margin account on KRAKEN. Otherwise, just you click on the asset where it says 10x and you just trade it. It's not a 10x trade. It's just telling you it has the ability to go up to 10x, which is suicide right now. FYI. Just like MQT said, he is damn right. It is suicide. Stealth, wow. 2013. Thank you so much for the $4.99 super chat. Not expecting that this evening. You are so damn generous. And can I say one other thing? I am stunned. We finally broke over the 47 to 48,000 subscriber threshold today. It's been a long journey with a lot of disappointment. But thank you so much. Everybody. Areli, welcome in. I'm so glad to see you here. Yeah, BMNR, I talked about a couple days ago because they increased their Ethereum holdings. So I don't know about you, MQT, but me personally, I'm almost out of the crypto market at some point here in the next couple of years. And I can see the perfect way around having to trade crypto with all their bullshit and increasing regulations for tax bullshit and closing down our no KYC exchanges and having all this unregulated nonsense to steal all of our shit because we have no backing and no clearance and no convertible way of proving that it's ours, even if something happens on a no KYC exchange, because it ain't linked to our fucking account, it ain't linked to our name. So as much as everybody thinks you're getting around taxes, which, you know, when you send it to a tier one exchange to put it in your bank account, you're paying the taxes anyhow. So do you really want to risk that and the allure of that when you're still going to pay the tax? I hate to break it to you. You're going to pay the taxes either way because they're going to go to another account and then it's going to show a plus minus when you remove it. So then you're going to be forced to claim it as income. So either way, you're getting your taxes. It may not be through the no KYC exchange, but it's going to be your differential when you send it to your tier one exchange anyhow. So you're going to pay the taxes. But what's going to happen if you go on these non-tier one exchanges where your ID's not used is they're going to simply purge your account and they're going to steal your money. Classic manipulation and scam artist. And I started to realize the ones that are operating here in unregistered territories where they are restricted, like 2-bit, like BitUnix now, like a whole bunch others in the past, like MEXC and Femex and BitGat, that eventually those three made it to where you couldn't even sign in and it was as if you never even existed. That's what the rest of these are doing. They've already laid the framework out to prove they're going to do that by restricting this region. So we're not doing that no more. We're doing this clean. Don't give them the ammo to steal your shit with no recourse. At least if KRAKEN attempts to steal your stuff, there's fire blocks. That's your safety net. There's also FDIC backing if you have your money stored in a certain way, but we won't get into that today. Just know fire blocks is a big thing. Uphold doesn't have fire blocks. They have their own digital cold wallets where they hold your money in. No, thank you. If I wanted a house that was burning down, you know, or if I wanted to go to hell, you know, that would be Uphold. Like a lot of people endorse Uphold on my channel. I don't. I've seen the bad side of Uphold. Some people have seen the bad side of other ones, but, you know, I think crypto is all shit now. I think there's a lot of bad in crypto. Big opportunity, but for the ones who don't understand, they are in a hell of a firing pit. Feel bad for everybody like that. Really feel bad. And we're getting to a spot now where we could completely reverse this turnaround to where I've talked about it and I talked about it and I've talked about it. If this is a head and shoulders, I mean, 37's probably, it could be a good back test for like band. But every time we come up to the higher point of this pattern, it's just a clean rejection. Don't really want to talk about band or anything more. I'd rather talk about XRP this evening. Somebody brought up Bitmine. I think it was MQ. But I watch Bitmine here religiously on here. And it came down I should have bought it. I'm so mad at myself for not buying it on the breakdown before it's first pushed back up. I still think it's got a big breakdown likely coming if the crypto market rejects. But there was an opportunity here at 24. And I remember when we were talking about it when it dropped down. I'm such a dick. Oh my God, I'm such an asshole. Because it came down here and it sat here for like 4 days. Came here on the 17th, all the way down to here on the 20th. And it was even still down here at 29 on the 1st. So even from 30 to 35, you're talking a little bit of a move. But from down here, and it sat there, but now it's overbought in the smaller time frame. So now you're going to get this weird consolidation. And then everybody's going to say, oh, fuck. That's went up 45%. So that was a missed opportunity. Define did a great job with hymns. Great buy. Remember when he was trying to buy it before, I said just wait for it to come back to the uptrend. And for all intents and purposes, I mean, that was a beautiful buy a couple days ago. He sent me it. It was down here in the mid-30s from what I remember. Great buy. Great buy. Maybe a little bit lower than mid-30s, but it was a good buy. He was all a part of that entire 8% plus move. So that was an unbelievable understanding of the charts. And I'm actually very happy for you. I know everybody keeps telling me Uphold has IOTA. Congratulations, IOTA, for going to the shittiest exchange known to man when it comes to tier one exchanges. Um, you have 500 shares, Dave from X. You want BMR to pump again? I mean, it's definitely had a nice little surge of 8% almost today. Yeah, you'll never hear me say a nice thing about Uphold ever. So I'm proud of everybody who tries to trade, but I'm never gonna endorse you trading on Uphold. But I'm not a financial advisor, so what the hell do you care? What does it matter that Julie got ripped off there after paying taxes 3+ years legitimately through Uphold? Um, and then them just saying you're not welcome here anymore after she just said had too much profit, and then she took her stuff off, and the last 1,000 they didn't give her. That's when they banned her account with no recourse. She tries to log in and it doesn't let you. It says to go on the app to file a complaint, but it's not available. They contacted us and said you're basically fucked. I shared it with everybody, and the fact that people are like, the hell with it. We've seen it happen to XRP future millionaire significant other. So it's okay. It's okay. We've seen it transpire in real time in, late 22, and he talked about it in January of 23. But it's okay, everybody. It's fine. We trust this guy with our freaking portfolio, but we're going to put that portfolio we trust him with his advice, even though he's not a financial advisor, we're going to put it into an exchange where he got scammed with his significant other, or she got scammed. And they're still holding on to her 1,000 XRP she bought at 34. No, hers was at that time, about 34, because it was sent over there because she bought it at the same time. So now she just sticks with Doge. It's on Robinhood. I sent it to her, and she doesn't even fuck with anything. She's so pissed off about it. I'm pissed off about it. Well, not so pissed off, but that $3,400, or it was $340 for the 1,000 they had. At one point it was up to $3,500. Right now it's still worth, on 1,000 shares, that's over $2,000. Everybody's like, at least it wasn't more. Could have been. It's a long process, my friend. It's a long process. But I don't want to get into that too deep. There's been a lot of stuff done, and all roads end to. They can basically just say it's for whatever reason that there's so many things. It's not just so simple to send it to the CFBP or PP. I promise. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau basically is a large lump of shit, just like the rest of these government. Anyhow, I don't want to get into all that. I don't want to knock anybody for using Uphold. I shared my personal experience, but everybody always asks me for guidance, and I'm not going to give you guidance with Uphold. It's just not going to happen. Let's see. Define says, thanks, Tom. Really starting to get a handle on these charts. You sure are. You've come a long way in the last 6 months. I mean, you've been around longer, but I'm just saying in the last 6 months in particular, I've seen you take a huge step. Joseph Euler, thanks for the gifted sub, not only in Tom's Armor for 6+ months with the XP Predictor, gifted a sub that BK Milo got. Excellent. And thanks for being in Tom's Armor for your first month with the emoji badge of me being abducted by aliens. And that is my face superimposed on that emoji badge. Even the Buckeye agrees with the Wolverine and says, Uphold sucks. Yep. True. If a Wolverine and Buckeye agree on it, I mean, come on now. But anyhow, it's what it is. No guidance on Uphold. Yeah, I don't use a hot coin. We went down that venture, and we seen where that was leading. There's all bullshit there. That's a no KYC exchange that's not supported in the USA. That's another one I talk about. That's what I mean. Don't use those. You can take a risk. We all have, but at the end of the day, there's no guidance. There's no support. They're unregulated in the USA. So even, but I appreciate the advice on Uphold and only tier one. I appreciate it, Nick. Yeah, it sucks. I remember firsthand when we were trying to test out a hot coin, and then I gave out a warning and said, listen, guys, there's a lot of problems here with liquidity. There's a lot of problems when there's an issue with customer service, and I backed off of hot coin very quickly. But we tried it in early 24, but we started to realize that all of these, or even in I think early 25, some were using it, but we've tried a lot of these and we realized that they're unregulated. They're not even allowed in the USA. So what that means is even if you use a VPN, all of these actions are recourse having your account frozen and them taking your funds. And there's no recourse. They're unregulated in the USA. That means even if you make 10 grand, 100 grand, a million, 10 million, imagine you make $10 million on a trade. You go to take that money out and they're like, what do you mean? You're you're not supposed to be here. It's restricted on your IP. What are you going to do? Go call a lawyer when you're trading on an unregistered exchange? That's exactly my point. That's exactly my point. It's all fun and, it's all fun and whatever until the time comes when they actually do freeze the account, act like it was never there and steal your money. Who are you going to call? Hi, can I get your account name? Well, I can't log in. Well, what was it? Well, can we at least get your name so we can link it to the account? Well, there was no KYC and I couldn't validate and I couldn't verify. And now it just doesn't let me log in and it says my account doesn't exist. You're shit out of luck, my friend. I hope you didn't put a lot of money into there and I hope you didn't make a lot of money because you just lost it all. You know, um, I hustle harder than you says Uphold still has 10,000 of my XRP until this day. Those people have yet to reply, even the CFBP. Exactly. I didn't get a response from the CFBP either. So you cannot sue them. No lawyer will take a case against the exchanges. And even if we could, do you know how much legality they would throw over us and how much it would cost us in court costs and all this other nonsense and lawyers? That's the problem. That's a good idea, Nick. That's honestly a good idea. You don't want them to see too much because once they realize, I don't know, it's a big cat and mouse show. It sucks. You can't sue them. That's the thing. Like, no one will touch it. There's so much unregulated with regulations that aren't clear that a lawyer, for the most part, says you're fucked. There's no clear guidance. So a lawyer doesn't have guidance to go on. They give you all this fancy lingo, but it's never there. It's like anybody who's ever been injured. They'll tell you all these places you can work, tell you all these reasons why you can work, tell you all these resources you can use, but they're all dead ends. It's just on a piece of paper so they can get you out the door. Yeah, we're a creditor, and that's why a lot of attorneys tell people that that you shouldn't do certain kind of taxes. But I don't want to go like that because I don't want to go down because I'm not going to file a tax return on crypto. You got to at least try. Show you're trying. I know there's a lot of loopholes and all this other shit, but at least give it your best shot. You know? There's a lot of bad advice when it comes to crypto. I've heard it myself from legal people that say, "Oh, it's not regulated." I don't care. Like, listen, at the very least, I mean, if there's some income coming in, you say you made some crypto income, and there's no clear way to say it. Like, you made what you earned it on crypto. That's why the tier one exchanges are nice because at least you've got all that in place and you can use the software. On an unregulated exchange, they won't even let you use the tax software because they're not getting in trouble. They don't have that. It's so fucked. I hustle. Yeah, Josh, you're the reason why. Remember, I became leery. This was several years ago. Why we were trying to get all of our stuff off Uphold because I took you seriously at face value, and we got most of it off of hers. And then all of a sudden, bam! And I remember you were like, "You're so lucky you got what you got off." But I remember when it happened to you, and you were very, 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 very transparent with our audience. And you're like, "I don't." And I remember I said, "Well, it hasn't happened to me," and you said, "Not yet." And I'm like, "Oh shit!" Those words haunted me. I don't Uphold. And that's why we got ours off. Thankfully, we listened to you. Because if we wouldn't have, I fear that it would have been her Dogecoin would have got stuck on there with the XRP. And I think there was a little bit of at that time there was like VeChain and stuff. But fortunately, because of you, we were able to, yeah. So that's the importance of having community as well. If you appreciate the fact that I hustle harder than you was able to give that information out years ago and allow people to kind of take the quick entry or, level out, hit that like button. We got 94 likes. Can we get 6? Be careful with tier one exchanges. 2 FTX Sam Bankman Fried. How soon we forget? I'm not forgetting. I haven't forgot shit. I've said I don't trust any crypto. But why go to an unregulated exchange? That just it increases your odds of the wrong side. And for the record, I encourage everybody not to use his bullshit exchange. So Why is the ledger not the safest spot? Because there's back end ways to break into it that allow people to seize and acquire your crypto. And because it's all tied to the same spot, I think the reason why all those cold wallets are pushed, think about it universally. In the stock market, when I'm trading on JP Morgan trading app, Charles Schwab, Robinhood, or wherever the hell you trade, you're not sending your stocks to a cold stock exchange. It's noted that it's backed by the FDIC and it's safe, even though it's not, but the illusion is there. With crypto, they tell you you're trading on these exchanges, but now you got to send it to a hardware wallet. Are we out of, like, just think about it. So then when they do the regulation and they say, guess what, wallets? We need all of the people that are in the cold wallets to show their KYC and do their KYC. What happens when 75% of these cold wallets that are from Singapore and Greece and all these other places that are unregulated, they say, the hell with that. We're just getting rid of the US support. How are you going to get yourself off that cold wallet is my question. It's always been my question. It's always been my fear of all of this. No, I remember a lot of people said that they were going to avoid it or didn't want to listen to I Hustle Harder Than You because of that Flare airdrop. And I simply said that's not a good reason. But yeah, it's there's a lot of stuff. So I'm always in fear of certain things. And when we see the way that the narrative is going in crypto, would you be surprised if that happened? Look, with all this regulations coming out, look how many exchanges said instead of doing and going with US regulations, how many exchanges that were servicing the USA just said, I'm done. We're not even gonna it's over. We're freezing all those accounts. It's happened to, I would imagine, hundreds of thousands of users in the USA, and it's not talked about. But I would imagine there's millions upon millions of dollars stolen from retail, and they're simply locked out of their accounts because it acts like they don't even exist. And you're not locked out. They deleted your account and they stole your money. Also, that no KYC BS isn't true. When I cashed out everything in 21, they have your bank info regardless. Well, yeah. When you cash out on a no KYC exchange, some people cash it from the no KYC exchange right to their bank account. That's why I say when you send it to another exchange and you send it to your bank, you're getting tax on it. You just have to understand that. So you'll see a differential on the other exchange, and then you use that as your tax. That's what you got to do. Tom, I agree with you. Just saying, be careful. Wish I had a good answer. Oh, I know. No, I know. I wish I had a good answer too, but I can tell you, um, I wish I could tell you, that there's a safe way, but there's not. The only good thing about certain tier one exchanges, they have fire blocks, but it sucks. And yeah, and TikTok's all about those cold wallets right now, and they're paying people. I got the offer to push the XRP ledger because that's what my brand is with XRP. But you know, a lot of those wallets they want to. I just don't partake in any of that. I just don't think it's good business. Oh yeah, absolutely. So that's what I say. Every single withdrawal that's ever come from my account from Kraken, and every single thing that's been deposited out of crypto.com and Kraken that's hit my bank account, that's 100% tracked. That's why the differential on my exchanges, and I overpay on taxes. I've acknowledged this a million times. But whatever that separation is, the differential, I pay it as if it's earned income over the top. So, because it's better to be safe. Yep. Well, because they want to know. So if the money's coming from an exchange, they want to know it came from crypto. That's why everybody who checked no on that, and they can have a transaction linked to crypto. Let's say you have Kraken or whatever. Even if you're sending it from an OKY exchange, you're sending it to an exchange that now when you take the withdrawal, it's got the withdrawal information. So they're gonna expect you to at least claim something for that taxable withdrawal. I'm telling you. I've been telling people this since 21. That's a good way to understand your differential because it'll show you the difference between deposited, and that's what I mean. Oh yeah, there's no problem getting the exchange. Well, there is a problem getting money on the exchanges if you can't get verified. I never was able to put money and deposit it without being verified. So unless you try to take it from like where you're verified on a Cash App, which I got banned from there because they said that apparently, I'm not welcome there. Fortunately, I took all my commodities and stuff off, put it in JP Morgan trading app a long time before that happened. But Tom Lee just said the crypto has bottomed. There won't be a 4-year cycle anymore. Yeah, I think we're in a different kind of a cycle here. I've been acknowledging that myself. But we haven't had a cycle yet. We haven't had a cycle yet, in my opinion. Look into Kalen Brown. I love it and haven't had any problems. You are the account holder, not them. Many others safety features they use Fireblock. See, that's a benefit. I've looked more into Kalen Brown. And I know you have to pay a little bit more because, they have a managing fee, which is very small, but it's almost like a safety feature as well. I've looked into them. I just haven't used it, but it does seem like a decent option for a lot who are trying to have some security, even though we're in a world of unsecurity. But thank you for that. And they use fire blocks too, which is good. I appreciate that $9.99 donation, 1970 Legend. That is super generous. Um, the convenience is nice. Yeah, I absolutely. And Frankie Fresh, you're so right about your worry about it. It's not when you put the money in, it's when you cash out. It's legitimate. It's a legitimate. Plus, they look for best price on exchange. Well, that's nice. Bro, Tom Lee is another government character. Anyone that's on CNBC, government owned network. Absolutely. Oh, they're all controlled opposition. There's no doubt about that. We're just trying to survive in a game that's controlled by a stacked deck. And the only way to win a game that's with a stacked deck is to understand the philosophy within the game and know which part of the move is coming, which is very hard. Is very hard to understand. Come on, Ghost. You can go. It's okay. Come on, kitty. Your tail's gonna get caught. There you go. But yeah, it's very hard to win a rigged deck. It really is. And no, selling a crypto to USDT or USDC, then moving it 3 different doesn't work. Stating for a friend. No, because at the end of the day, I hustle harder than you. It's got to go somewhere where it's going to be withdrawn, and that's where they're going to see it. So even if you go from this no KYC to that one to another one to a cold wallet to a hardware wallet, yeah, and then it's going to end up where you go to an exchange where you're verified, so you can withdraw it, and then it's going to show a discrepancy of I withdrew this money, and there's more money being withdrawn than I deposited. And that separation, you got to understand if there's a $10,000 differential, you're going to claim that as 10,000 in gains. That's my personal advice to you. If it says 50,000 differential, you're going to claim that as separation because you got to prove that you got it from somewhere. But I'm not a tax person. I'm not going to get into that. I'm just telling you, for your own interest, be smart. Just be smart. That's a good reason to have a tier one exchange. So when you're moving all the bullshit where it can't be tracked because they won't let you do it with the software, you put it into a central location so you can see the differential. I got 200,000 in my account. This is just an example because I don't. And it says that I have $400,000 in activity. I have 200,000 in my account. That means $200,000 has made its way off. If that made its way into my bank account, guess what, friends? You're claiming $200,000 of added income. It's just the way it goes. And I understand a lot of this is self accountability with crypto right now until further regulations come in. But do yourself a favor, do it with the integrity way. And yeah, there's a lot of loopholes because there's not a lot of ways to actually do what they want us to do with clear factual things. But there is ways to understand how much is going in and out. That's why they always say you need to know your cost basis versus your sale versus your buy. Everything as a whole. They're not saying you need to know exchange by exchange. They're saying from top to bottom, we want to know how much you made if there's an income. That's why you can even put it to where you don't say the exchange, you just say the total amount between every other thing you've ever done, basically, on there for the year. And then you can have the plus minus, and then you do the separation. That's why they have it like that, because it's a pain in the ass. Um, but yeah, I know a lot of people that have done their taxes, they trade crypto and they just say, I didn't trade crypto this year. Big mistake. Now, if you really didn't withdraw anything into a bank account, well, okay. Well, I mean, I still probably wouldn't do that, but you haven't withdrawn anything, so it's harder to trace. But the moment it hits your bank account, because they want to know where it came from. And if it's linked to crypto, they want to know the exchange. And if it's on the exchange, they want to know the total. So that's it. That's it. We'll get off the topic, but I'm just saying. Just saying. Um, we've had SHX come down 9%, a lot of 4.5% drops across the board. We've had Epic down 5.2%, Axler down 3.6, Proton down 3.5, XRP Healthcare down 4.4. Nothing much across the board. Gold's at just over 4,200. Silver's about 57. Let's see. Bitmine is up 7.9 as we talked about. HIMS was up as we talked about. But my son is going to be waking up soon, hopefully. I think it's been a good live. I think it was a good live. I'm running short on time. I'm glad that we were able to come here. My son fell asleep after school, so I know he's going to be waking up. And I want to help Julie get set up for the next feeding, which is very important. But XRP, but we're really set up in a tricky spot here because we got the rejection at least on the breakout pushback attempt. So it's an interesting dilemma we're in because that looks a little bearish even in the 45. Anything short of coming back above 211, about 211.60, and then overtaking this 20-day is going to be a continuation to the downside. Almost looks like a little bear flag setting up, but you never know. It could bounce out, but this looks like it's going to be seeking down. And then if we're unable to hold that $2.06 area, I mean, I think it's a big understanding here that we're breaking down here a little bit. Unless we can reverse in a hurry. I mean, we might have a date with Destiny down here near that $1.85 mark. So hope everybody does indeed have a blessed evening. Yeah. So do we have a bear flag on XRP? It's maybe. It's hard to tell right now, but you definitely could. This little wick pull up is interesting, but if it breaks this down, it's going to be used as one, and then it'll end up coming down to this probably $1.98 zone next. So just pay attention, be aware, and I got to go because I have some stuff to do as a dad. I'm glad we were able to do 47 minutes. I hate the run, but just some stuff.